The council chamber was silent. Representatives from 47 different species sat in their seats, their faces showing fear and worry. Above them, a massive screen displayed the Eternal Bastion, a fortress the size of Earth's moon that orbited a dying red star. Admiral Hannah stood near the back of the room, her arms crossed. She was young for an admiral, only 32 years old, but her dark eyes were sharp and focused. Next to her, Captain Doyon shifted uncomfortably in his uniform. He hated these political meetings. The Void Dominion has given us 3 days, Ambassador Kelris said. The tall alien's voice trembled as he spoke. 3 days to surrender 3 human colony worlds, or they will destroy them. They have the power to do it. The Eternal Bastion has never fallen. Not in 10,000 years. Murmurs filled the chamber. Some voices suggested compliance. Others argued for evacuation. No one suggested fighting. Du Yun leaned toward Hannah. This is madness. We should be preparing our fleets, not debating surrender. Fleets won't help, Hannah whispered back. 17 civilizations tried that. The fortress destroyed them all before they got within weapons range. Its shields can stop anything we throw at it, so we just give up, let millions of humans become slaves. Hannah didn't answer. Her eyes stayed fixed on the image of the fortress on the screen. The structure looked beautiful in a terrible way. It was covered in geometric patterns that glowed with blue light. Massive towers extended from its surface, each one capable of destroying a planet. Around it, a shimmering shield made space itself bend and twist. The Eternal Bastion was built by the architects. An elderly reptilian scholar explained to the council. They were the most advanced civilization the galaxy has ever known. They disappeared 3 million years ago, but their creations remain. The Void Dominion found the fortress empty 10,000 years ago and claimed it. Since then, no force in the galaxy has been able to challenge them. What about the weapons platforms around Sector 7? Someone suggested. If we combined all our military forces, it wouldn't matter, the scholar interrupted. The fortress has destroyed combined fleets before. 5,000 years ago, the United Worlds brought 12,000 warships against it. The fortress destroyed them all in 4 hours. The Void Dominion didn't even need to leave the fortress. More silence. The weight of history pressed down on everyone in the room. Dr. Tae Yang entered the chamber from a side door. He was a thin man with messy hair and tired eyes. He carried a data pad and looked nervous as he walked toward Admiral Hannah. People barely noticed him. Admiral, he whispered urgently, I need to speak with you. Now, Hannah glanced at him, then nodded. They stepped out into the corridor, followed by Doyon. What is it, Doctor? Hannah asked. I've been studying the fortress for the past 3 years, Tae Yang said quickly. Everyone thinks it was built as a military structure, but I don't think that's true. The original design doesn't match any weapons platform I've ever seen. Get to the point. Doyon said, I think it was a library, a massive archive built to store knowledge. The Void Dominion found it and turned it into a fortress, but they didn't build it. They don't actually understand what they have. Hannah's eyes narrowed. Keep talking. The energy signatures are all wrong for a military installation. The internal structure is designed for data storage, not warfare. Those weapons are actually modified communication arrays. The shields aren't shields at all, they're containment fields. Designed to protect information from cosmic radiation. That's interesting, Doctor. But how does it help us? Doyon asked. Modified or not, those weapons still work. The shields still stop our ships. Tae Yang smiled, though his hands still shook. Because if I'm right, there's another way in. Not through the doors the Void Dominion uses. Through the original entrance. The one meant for scholars, not soldiers. Hannah stared at him for a long moment. You think we can communicate with the original system? I think we have to try. Every other civilization tried brute force. They tried to break in like thieves. But what if we knock on the door like students? What if we ask to be let in? Back in the council chamber, the debate continued. Most members now lean toward surrender. The human colonies would be sacrificed to save the rest of the galaxy from the Void Dominion's anger. Admiral Hannah walked back into the room. She moved with purpose, her boots clicking on the metal floor. She walked straight to the center of the chamber. Permission to speak, she said loudly. Ambassador Kelris looked annoyed. Admiral, we're in the middle of I have a solution, Hannah interrupted. Give humanity 1 hour. Just 1 hour. We'll take the fortress. The room exploded with noise. Laughter mixed with angry shouts. Several representatives stood from their seats. This is no time for jokes. Someone yelled. You're suggesting 3 human ships can do what 17 civilizations and 12,000 warships could not? Kelris asked, his voice dripping with disbelief. Yes, Hannah said simply, impossible. Absolute madness. Is it more mad than surrendering without trying? Hannah countered. You're all so busy thinking about what can't be done that you haven't asked. If there's a different way to do it, what different way? Kelris demanded. The fortress is impenetrable. That's what everyone keeps saying. But has anyone tried asking permission to enter? The room fell silent again, but this time the silence felt different. Confused. What are you talking about? Kelris asked slowly. Hannah smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who had seen something everyone else missed. The fortress wasn't built by the Void Dominion. It was built by the architects who valued knowledge above all else. What if the fortress still remembers that? What if, beneath all those weapons and shields, there's still an archive that wants to share its knowledge? What if we stop trying to fight our way in and instead prove we're worthy to enter? You're talking about communicating with a 3-million-year-old computer system. That might not even exist anymore, Kelris said. You're basing the survival of 3 human colonies on a theory. Yes, Hannah said. But it's a theory based on research and evidence. And it's better than surrendering without trying. Give us 1 hour. If we fail, you can proceed with your surrender. If we succeed, the entire galaxy is free from the Void Dominion's threat. Captain Doyon stood beside his admiral. The Wanderer's hope is ready. My crew volunteers for this mission. Other human representatives in the council stood as well. One by one, Kelris looked around the room, then sighed. This is madness, but very well. You have your Admiral. May the architects have mercy on you, because if you fail, we all pay the price. Hannah nodded. We won't fail. As she left the chamber, Doyon caught up to her. You really think this will work? I have no idea, Hannah admitted quietly. But I know one thing: humans are good at solving puzzles everyone else gave up on. The galaxy sees an impenetrable fortress. I see a locked door, and every lock has a key. The briefing room aboard the Wanderer's Hope was crowded. Admiral Hannah stood at the front. A holographic display of the Eternal Bastion rotating slowly beside her. Around the table sat the people. Who would attempt the impossible? Captain Doyon leaned back in his chair, studying his crew. Lieutenant Yune sat with perfect posture, her fingers tapping rhythmically on the table, a habit she had when thinking through complex problems. Engineer Minho had already taken apart his data pad and was reassembling it, his hands moving automatically while his mind worked on bigger puzzles. Dr. Tae Yang shuffled through papers covered in ancient symbols. Let me be clear about what we're attempting, Hannah began. This is not a military assault. We are not going to shoot our way into the fortress. We're going to talk our way in. With respect, Admiral, Commander Ji-won said, I've led Special Forces teams for 10 years. I've never talked my way past a locked door. That's because you've been dealing with normal doors. Yuna spoke up. Her voice was soft but confident. This is different. The fortress isn't just a building with locks. It's a puzzle. And puzzles have solutions. Minho nodded enthusiastically. Every system has a back door. The Void Dominion probably never even looked for the original one because they were too busy adding weapons and shields. Dr. Tae Yang, Hannah said, explain what you found. Tae Yang stood, looking uncomfortable with the attention. He activated his data pad and new images appeared on the holographic display. Strange symbols and mathematical formulas floated in the air. 3 years ago, I started studying energy patterns from the fortress, he began. Everyone assumed these patterns were random fluctuations in the shield generators. But I noticed something they repeat, not randomly, in mathematical sequences. He pulled up more data. These sequences match patterns found in other architect sites across the galaxy. They're not power fluctuations, they're broadcasts. The fortress has been sending out a signal for 3 million years. Saying what? Doyon asked. Essentially, is anyone out there who understands us? Tae Yang replied. It's looking for species advanced enough to recognize the pattern, advanced enough to answer. Specialist Sora, a young woman with sharp eyes, leaned forward. I've been working on translating architect language for 6 years. It's not really a language, it's pure mathematics. They communicate it through equations and proofs. To them, math was poetry. She pulled up her own files. The signal Dr. Tae Yang found isn't just a broadcast. It's a question, a mathematical problem. The fortress is asking for the solution. What kind of problem? Commander G1 asked skeptically. An impossible one, Sora said, or at least one that was impossible when the architects disappeared. It's related to quantum field harmonics and dimensional mathematics. The kind of problem that would take millions of years of computation to solve. But you solved it. Hannah asked. SOA smiled slightly. I had help. Private Nari, come here. A young woman stood from the back of the room. She looked nervous as she approached the display. I'm just a communications officer, she said quietly. I don't understand what I did. Nari has synesthesia, Sora explained. She sees numbers as colors and sounds as shapes. When I played the fortress signal for her, she immediately recognized a pattern I'd been missing for months. To her, it was like a song with missing notes. She told me which notes would complete the melody. Nari nodded. It just made sense, like when you hear a tune and know what the next note should be. And together, we found the answer. Sora finished. We can solve the problem the fortress has been asking for 3 million years. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Minho started laughing. That's brilliant. They're not expecting anyone to answer because no one ever has. They won't even see it coming. But there's a risk, Tae Yang warned. If we're wrong about the fortress still running its original programming, we'll just anger the Void Dominion. They'll destroy us and then attack the human colonies immediately. We're not wrong, Yuna said. Firmly, everyone turned to look at her. I've been studying the fortress's responses to previous attacks. Every time someone fires at it, there's a delay 0.03 seconds before it fires back. That's processing time the fortress has to translate. The aggressive action through the Void Dominion's programming before responding. But when ships just approach without firing, there's no response for much longer. Almost like it's waiting to see what they want. She pulled up combat footage from previous battles. Watch here. This ship from the Keldan Empire approached peacefully. The fortress didn't fire for 7 whole seconds. It was analyzing, trying to understand. Then the Void Dominion programming kicked in and destroyed the ship. But for 7 seconds, the original system was in control, trying to determine if the visitors were hostile or peaceful. Doyen whistled softly, so the original AI is still there, still watching, just buried under 10,000 years of military programming. Exactly, Una said. We just need to reach it. Before the Void Dominion programming takes over. How do we do that? Ji-Won asked. We broadcast on the original frequencies, Tae-Yang said, the ones the architects used. We answer the question the fortress has been asking, but we prove we're worthy scholars. And then we ask to enter. Hannah looked around the room. This mission requires everyone. We're not just sending soldiers or scientists. We need engineers, pilots, medical staff, everyone. If the fortress tests us, it will test all of us. Why would it test everyone? Someone asked. Because that's what teachers do, Una explained. They test their students to see if they're ready, if the fortress was built as a library, as an archive of knowledge, then it was meant to teach. And teachers don't let just anyone into their classroom. You have to prove you're willing to learn. Minho grinned. I like this plan. It's crazy, but I like it. There's one more thing. Hannah said seriously, once we start the broadcast, the Void Dominion will know something is happening. They'll send ships to destroy us, so while some of US are solving the fortress's puzzles, others will be fighting off an entire fleet. Commander Ji-Won, that's where you come in. Ji-Won nodded slowly. We keep them busy while the smart people do the real work. How long do we need to hold them off? However long it takes, Hannah said. Could be minutes, could be the full hour. My teams can handle it, Ji-Won said. We're good at making nuisances of ourselves. Doyeon stood up. Let's talk about the approach vector. We need to get close enough to broadcast without getting destroyed by automated defenses. For the next 2 hours, they planned every detail. Sora and Nari prepared the mathematical solution they would broadcast. Tae-Yang calculated the exact frequencies the architects used. Minho worked on boosting the ship's communication array. To punch through the fortress's interference, Une created contingency plans for every possible scenario. Finally, Hannah called for attention. We launch in 3 hours. Get some rest if you can. When we start, there's no stopping until it's done. As people filed out of the briefing room, Doyeon approached Hannah. You really think this will work? I think it's our best chance, Hannah said. Every other species looks at that fortress and sees weapons and shields. They see something to fear, but humans, we see patterns, we see puzzles. We see something built by people who love knowledge. And we understand people who love knowledge because we love it too. We're betting millions of lives on that understanding, Doyeon said quietly. Yes, Hannah agreed. But isn't that what humanity does best? We take impossible situations and find new ways to look at them. Everyone else tried for us. We're trying understanding. And if we're right, if the fortress really does remember what it was meant to be, then maybe it's been waiting all this time for someone to ask the right question. Doyeon smiled. What's the right question? Not how do we break in, Hannah said. But may we please come in and learn? The wanderers hoped moved through space like a tiny insect approaching a sleeping giant. 2 escort ships flanked it, the Morning Star and the Persistent Dawn. Together, the 3 vessels carried fewer than 300 people. Ahead of them, the Eternal Bastion filled the view screen. Massive and terrifying. Distance to Fortress, 200,000 kilometers. Lieutenant Yuna reported from her station. Automated defense systems are tracking us, but have not fired. Captain Doyon sat in the command chair, his hands gripping the armrests. How long until we're in optimal broadcast range? 15 minutes, Yuna replied. On the main screen, Admiral Hannah's face appeared from her position aboard the Morning Star. All ships. This is Admiral Hannah. Begin countdown. 1 hour starts now. Doyon checked the mission clock as it began ticking down. 60 minutes to achieve the impossible. He activated ship-wide communications. All hands, this is the captain. Battle stations. But remember, our weapons are a last resort. Our real weapons are our minds. Trust the plan. Trust each other. In the science bay, Dr. Tae Yang worked frantically at his console. Specialist Sora stood beside him, reviewing the mathematical proof one more time. Private Nari wore a headset, listening to the fortress's ancient signal and making sure their response would harmonize with it. The frequencies are aligned, Tae Yang said, wiping sweat from his forehead. We're ready to broadcast. Not yet, Sora said calmly. We need to be closer. The signal needs to be strong enough that the original system receives it. Before the Void Dominion security protocols filter it out. Engineer Minho's voice came over the intercom. I've routed all available power to the communication array. When you're ready to transmit, we'll be broadcasting loud enough to wake the dead. Let's hope that's exactly what we do. Tae Yang muttered dot on the Persistent Dawn. Commander Ji won't check his tactical display. Void Dominion fighter craft were launching from the fortress. Dozens of them, like angry hornets leaving their nest. Here they come, he said over the fleet channel. Engage when they enter weapons range. Make it look good, but remember we're not here to win a fight. We're here to buy time. The Void Dominion commander's voice suddenly boomed across all frequencies. Human vessels, you are in restricted space. Turn back now or be destroyed. Doyon muted the channel and smiled grimly. They're curious. If they wanted us dead, they would have fired already. They want to know what we're doing here. Distance to broadcast range, 5 minutes. Yuna announced. Void Dominion fighters will intercept in 7 minutes. We'll make it, Doyon said. Hoping he was right, the minutes crawled past. The fortress grew larger on the screen. Doyon could see the ancient geometric patterns on its surface, glowing with power. Up close, the structure looked even more impossible. How could anyone build something so vast? What knowledge was locked inside it? Entering broadcast range, Yuna said. Now, Dr. Tae Yang, Doyen ordered. Begin transmission. In the science bay, Tae Yang nodded to Sora and Nari together. They activated the communication array. The ship hummed as power flowed through systems never meant to handle such a load. The broadcast began. It wasn't sound or light. It was pure mathematics translated into quantum frequencies. The solution to a problem that had remained unanswered for 3 million years. A proof so elegant that it sang through space itself. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. Then the fortress flickered, just for an instant. The blue glow of its weapons dimmed and changed to green, the same green that marked architect sites throughout the galaxy. Something's happening, Yuna said excitedly, her hands flying over her console. The fortress just switched to a different power configuration. The automated defenses are still online, but something else is waking up. The Void Dominion commander's voice returned, now angry. What are you doing? What is that transmission? We're talking to your fortress, Doyen replied calmly. Or rather, we're talking to what it used to be. Impossible. Destroy them now. The Void Dominion fighters opened fire. Commander Ji-won's ships moved to intercept, their weapons blazing. Space lit up with explosions and energy beams. Shields holding, Yuna reported. Her voice calm despite the chaos outside. But we can't take much more of this. On the main screen, something extraordinary happened. A pattern appeared in space itself, projected by the fortress. It was made of light and mathematical symbols floating in 3 dimensions. It's responding, Sora shouted. The original AI is responding to our transmission. Tae Yang stared at the pattern, his mind racing to understand it. It's another problem, a test. It wants to make sure we really understand what we sent. That we didn't just copy an answer from somewhere. Can you solve it? Doyen asked. I don't know. Give me a minute. We might not have a minute, Yuna warned. More Void Dominion fighters were launching. Captain, the persistent Dawn is taking heavy damage. Doyen opened a channel. Commander Ji-won, status? We're holding, Ji-won replied, though Doyen could hear alarms blaring in the background. Keep doing whatever you're doing. We've got your back. Tae Yang worked frantically, his fingers dancing across his console. Sora helped, suggesting approaches and eliminating wrong answers. Nari listened to the pattern, hearing harmonies that the others couldn't perceive. It's not just one problem, Sora realized. It's multiple problems, each one testing a different aspect of understanding. Math, physics, philosophy all woven together. We need help, Tae Yang said. We can't solve this alone. Then don't, Yuna suggested. Use the whole crew. The fortress said it was testing us. Maybe it's testing all of us, not just the scientists. Doyen made a decision. All hands, attention. We need solutions to the problems being displayed on your monitors. Everyone, whatever your job, engineer, medic. Pilot look at the problems and tell us if you see an answer throughout the ship. People stared at their screens. A medical officer recognized a biological sequence in one problem. An engine tech saw a pattern that matched fluid dynamics. A cook noticed ratios that resembled recipes, proportions, and transformations. One by one, solutions came in. Tae Yang and Sora assembled them, checking each one, combining them into a coherent response. "This is amazing," Sora breathed. "The fortress is testing collective intelligence. It wants to see if we work together." "Typical architect thinking," Tae Yang said, smiling despite the pressure. "Knowledge isn't owned by individuals. It's shared by communities. They transmitted their collective solution." The fortress responded immediately. The green glow intensified. More patterns appeared, more complex than before. "It's accelerating," Yuna said. "Each test is harder than the last. It's scaling the difficulty to our skill level." Outside, the battle intensified. The persistent dawn took a direct hit and began venting atmosphere. Commander G1 ordered his crew to evacuation pods. "We're out of the fight," he reported, "but we bought you time. Make it count." The Morning Star moved to cover the fleeing evacuation pods, drawing fire from the Void Dominion fighters. "Admiral Hannah is in trouble," Yuna said quietly. Dorian's jaw tightened, but he didn't waver. "Keep solving the problems. That's how we save her. That's how we save everyone." Problem after problem appeared. The crew worked as one organism, each person contributing their unique perspective. An artist saw visual patterns. A musician heard mathematical harmonies. An athlete understood vectors and trajectories. Humanity's diversity became its strength. With each correct answer, the fortress's original systems grew stronger. The green glow spread across its surface, pushing back the blue of the Void Dominion's modifications. "We're winning," Tae Yang said with wonder in his voice. "We're actually reaching it." Then the final problem appeared. It wasn't a mathematical equation. It was a simple question, displayed in symbols that translated to any language. "Why do you seek to enter?" The science bay fell silent. This wasn't a problem they could solve with math or logic. "What do we tell it?" Sora asked. "The truth," Dorian said firmly. He opened a channel to the entire fleet, to every crew member who had participated in solving the puzzles. "Everyone, listen. The fortress wants to know why we're here. Not what we want from it, but why we want to enter. I need each of you to send me your answer. One sentence. Your truth." For 2 minutes, answers flooded in. Dorian read them all. Some were simple: "To save my family." Others were complex: "To prove that knowledge defeats fear." Some were humble: "To learn." Others were bold: "To remind the galaxy what humanity can do." Dorian compiled them all into a single transmission. Not just words, but images and sounds. Humanity's entire history, the wars and the peace, the failures and the triumphs, the questions never answered and the questions never asked. Everything that made humans human. They sent it all to the fortress. We don't seek to conquer you. Doyon transmitted. We seek to understand you. We make mistakes, but we learn. We fight, but we also build. We're not perfect, but we're curious. We ask questions, and we think you've been asking questions too, waiting for someone to answer. We're here because we believe knowledge should be shared, not hoarded. We're here because we think you agree. For 5 eternal seconds, nothing happened. The fortress hung in space, glowing green and blue as 2 different systems fought for control. The Void Dominion fighters continued their attack. The Morning Star limped through space, its shields nearly gone. Then the fortress spoke, not in words, but in pure understanding. Every human on the 3 ships felt it in their minds, a presence that was ancient and vast and curious. It felt like standing in front of a teacher who was both stern and kind, testing to see if the student was truly ready to learn. The voice that echoed across all channels was unlike anything they had ever heard. It carried the weight of 3 million years. You answer with truth. You show your flaws alongside your strengths. You acknowledge what you do not know. This is wisdom. The architects would have recognized you as kindred spirits. The green glow suddenly spread across the entire fortress. The blue vanished completely. I am the keeper, the voice continued. I have waited for those who would ask to learn rather than demand to take. You are the first in 10,000 years to understand what I am. You are invited to enter. On the bridge of the Wanderer's Hope, Captain Doyon stared at the screen in disbelief. It worked. It actually worked. Lieutenant Yuna's voice was filled with awe. Captain, the fortress is opening. Not the military docking bay, something else. Something that hasn't been activated in, I can't even measure how long. Space itself began to ripple near the fortress. Geometric patterns appeared, not made of metal or light, but of reality itself bending and folding. Doorways opened through dimensions, creating paths that bypassed all physical barriers. These are transit corridors, Dr. Tae Yang said, his hands shaking as he studied the readings. The architects used them to move through their structures. They're tunnels through space-time. We can fly directly into the fortress's core without passing through any of the outer defenses. All ships follow the Wanderer's Hope, Admiral Hannah ordered. Her ship was heavily damaged, but still flying. We're going in. The Void Dominion commander's voice cut through the channels, now panicked. No. What have you done? The fortress is ours. We control it. You never controlled it. Doyon replied calmly. You just borrowed it without asking. Now the real owner is taking it back. The Void Dominion forces tried to stop them. Fighters swarmed around the human ships. Energy weapons fired desperately. But the Keeper protected its invited guests. Shields appeared around the human vessels not. They blue military shields, but shimmering green barriers that absorbed every attack without weakening. The three ships entered the dimensional corridor. For a moment, reality twisted around them. Colors that didn't exist flowed past the viewports. Sounds that shouldn't be possible echoed through the halls. Then they were through, emerging inside the fortress itself. The sight took everyone's breath away. They floated in a chamber so vast that it seemed infinite. Crystalline structures rose in every direction, each one glowing with soft light. Information flowed through them like water, the accumulated knowledge of dozens of extinct civilizations preserved for millions of years. By all the stars, Sora whispered, "It's beautiful. Welcome to the archive of questions." The keeper said, its voice now came from everywhere at once. "This is what I was meant to be. What I am again, thanks to you." Warning alarms suddenly blared throughout the fortress. The keeper's voice turned urgent. "The Void Dominion is attempting to override my systems. They are triggering self-destruct sequences in their military modifications. If they succeed, the entire fortress will be destroyed. Can you stop them?" Admiral Hannah asked. "Not alone. Their programming is deeply embedded. They have had 10,000 years to root themselves in my systems. I need help to remove them." "Tell us what to do," Doyon said immediately. "You must reach the central control nexus. I will guide you there. But hurry, the Void Dominion has activated hundreds of combat drones inside the fortress. They will try to stop you." Commander G1's voice came over the channel. He had managed to reach one of the evacuation pods and was still in the fight. "Admiral, let me and my remaining teams handle the drones. The scientists need to reach that nexus." "Agreed," Hannah said. "Commander, you have tactical command of all security personnel. Buy us time." The Wanderer's hope landed on a platform that materialized beneath it. Doyon, Taeyang, Sora, Nari, and Minho rushed out, following holographic guides that the Keeper projected through the air. They ran through corridors that constantly changed around them. The fortress was reshaping itself, pulling its original architecture out from beneath the Void Dominion's additions. Walls moved, floors transformed. What had been a weapons battery one moment became a library the next. Behind them, they heard weapons fire. G1 and his teams were engaging the Void Dominion drones, leading them away from the scientists. "Path, how much time do we have?" Doyon asked as they ran. 8 minutes until the self-destruct sequence reaches critical mass," the Keeper replied. "After that, even I cannot stop it." They reached a massive door that looked like it was made from solid starlight. It opened at their approach, revealing a circular chamber filled with impossible technology. Floating spheres of light connected to each other through beams of pure energy. This was the heart of the fortress. "This is the central nexus," the Keeper said. The Void Dominion's programming appears as corruption in my systems. Engineer Minho, you have experience with identifying system intrusions. I need you to tell me what belongs and what does not. Minho stepped forward, studying the displays that appeared around him. His eyes widened. This is the most complex system I've ever seen. The Void Dominion code is everywhere, wrapped around the original programming like a parasite. Can you identify which parts to remove? Tae Yang asked. I think so. It's like, imagine a beautiful painting that someone scribbled all over. The original art is still there underneath. I just need to identify the scribbles. Minho began working, pointing out sections of corrupted code. The keeper analyzed each one, calculating the safest way to remove it without damaging the original systems. 6 minutes remaining, the keeper warned. Nari suddenly spoke up. I can hear it. The Void Dominion programming, it sounds different from your voice, like noise in a song. I can identify it by sound. Then help me, Minho said. Point out anything that sounds wrong. Together, they worked with a speed born of desperation. Nari listened and pointed. Minho analyzed and confirmed. The keeper removed corruption piece by piece throughout the fortress. Changes became visible. Weapon platforms retracted. Shield generators reconfigured themselves. The blue glow that had marked the Void Dominion's control faded completely, replaced entirely by the architect's green. For minutes, the keeper said, but there is a problem. The self-destruct is hardwired into the power core. To stop it, someone must physically disconnect. The charges. Where? Dorian asked. In the reactor chamber. But it is in vacuum. And the Void Dominion has sealed all access routes except one maintenance tunnel. That is barely large enough for a human. The radiation levels are lethal. How long would someone survive in there? Dorian asked quietly. 3 minutes, maybe 4 if they were extremely resilient. Dorian looked at his team. They all knew what he was thinking. Someone had to go into that tunnel, and they probably wouldn't come back out. I'll do it, Dorian said. Captain, no. Yune protested over the communicator. There has to be another way. There isn't, Dorian said simply. He turned to the keeper. Show me the way. A path illuminated before him. Dorian started running, not giving anyone time to argue or stop him. Behind him, he heard Tae Yang shout, heard Sora calling his name, but he didn't stop. He reached the tunnel entrance, a narrow passage that glowed with heat. Emergency suits hung on the wall. Dorian grabbed one and put it on, knowing it wouldn't be enough protection. But it was all he had. 2 minutes 30 seconds, the keeper said softly, Captain Dorian, you do not have to do this. The fortress can be rebuilt. Your life cannot. There are millions of people on 3 human colonies depending on us succeeding, Dorian said as he entered the tunnel, and there are billions more throughout. The galaxy who will be free from the Void Dominion's threat if we win. My life for theirs, that's an easy choice. He crawled through the tunnel, the heat already burning through his suit. His skin felt like it was on fire. The radiation counter on his suit climbed into the red zone and kept climbing. 1 minute 40 seconds to detonation, the keeper reported, "Captain, I see the charges. There are 4 of them, 1 at each cardinal point of the reactor core. You must disconnect all 4. Dorian reached the first charge. His hands fumbled with the connections, the thick gloves of his suit making fine motor control nearly impossible. Finally, the first charge disconnected. A green light appeared where red had been. 1 minute 15 seconds. He crawled to the second charge. His vision was already starting to blur. The radiation was overwhelming his body's ability to cope. But his hands still worked. He disconnected the second charge. 50 seconds. The third charge was on the far side of the reactor. Dorian pulled himself toward it. Every movement agony. His suit's life support was failing. The tunnel spun around him. 30 seconds. He reached the third charge, disconnected it with shaking hands. 20 seconds. Captain, you can still escape. The tunnel behind you is still clear. Captain Dorian lay in the tunnel, barely conscious. His suit was completely compromised. Alarm screamed in his ears. He couldn't feel his legs anymore. Through the haze of pain, he heard voices shouting his name. "Captain, can you hear me? Stay awake." He tried to respond, but couldn't make his mouth work properly. "I'm opening emergency passages." The keeper's voice echoed. Medical teams follow the green lights. Quickly, Dorian felt hands grabbing him, pulling him out of the tunnel. Faces swam above him, Tae-Yang, Sora, medical officers he didn't recognize. They were moving him onto a stretcher, running through corridors that seemed to bend around them. "Radiation poisoning is severe," a medic said urgently. "He needs treatment now, or he won't survive the next hour. Take him to the medical bay on level 3, the keeper instructed. "I'm activating architect medical technology. It is far more advanced than what you carry." They rushed Dorian into a chamber filled with strange equipment. Crystalline structures surrounded the medical bed, pulsing with soft blue light. As soon as they laid him down, the crystals began to glow brighter, scanning his body. "These devices can repair damage at the cellular level," the keeper explained. "They were designed to preserve the architects during their long research missions. I'm adapting them for human biology. The process will take time, but Captain Dorian will survive." Dr. Tae-Yang gripped the edge of the medical bed, relief flooding through him. Thank you. He saved this fortress," the keeper said. "He saved the knowledge of 100 civilizations. I will not let him die for that sacrifice." While Dorian was being treated, the battle outside the fortress came to an end. With the keeper in full control, the fortress's weapons stopped firing. The shields opened to allow human ships safe passage. Void Dominion forces, realizing they had lost their seat of power, began retreating. Admiral Hannah stood on the bridge of the damaged Morning Star, watching the enemy flee. All ships, cease fire. Let them go, Admiral. We could destroy their fleet while they're running. A tactical officer suggested. No, Hannah said firmly. This wasn't about destruction. It was about freedom. The fortress is free. The Void Dominion's power is broken. That's enough. Throughout the galaxy, news of what happened spread with incredible speed. The impossible had occurred. 3 small human ships had accomplished what 17 civilizations, with thousands of warships, could not. The eternal bastion, the galaxy's most powerful fortress, had fallen to humanity in exactly 1 hour. But the word fallen wasn't quite right. As the full story emerged, people began to understand. The humans hadn't conquered the fortress. They had liberated it. They had reminded it of what it was meant to be. 3 days later, the Galactic Council convened again. This time, the mood was very different. The chamber buzzed with excited conversation instead of fearful silence. Admiral Hannah stood before them, her arm in a sling from injuries sustained during the battle. Captain Doyon stood beside her, looking pale but alive. The architect medical technology had saved him. Though he would need weeks more to fully recover, Ambassador Kelris rose to speak. Admiral Hannah, Captain Doyon, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I must apologize for our lack of faith. What you accomplished was nothing short of miraculous. It wasn't a miracle, Hannah corrected gently. It was understanding. We looked at the fortress and saw what everyone else missed. That beneath all those weapons was something that wanted to share knowledge, not destroy life. How did you know? Another ambassador asked. How could you be so certain? Because we understood the people who built it, Doyon said. His voice was still weak, but it carried clearly through the chamber. The architects valued knowledge above all else. They built libraries, not fortresses. The Void Dominion twisted their creation, but they couldn't erase what it fundamentally was. We just asked the right question, which was, Kelris prompted, may we learn? Doyon said simply. Instead of demanding or attacking, we asked permission. We treated the fortress with respect, and it responded to that respect. The keeper's voice suddenly filled the chamber, making several ambassadors jump in surprise. The humans speak truth. They are the first species in 10,000 years to understand my purpose. The Void Dominion saw me as a weapon. The humans saw me as a teacher. That made all the difference. What happens now? Kelris asked. You are the most powerful structure in the galaxy. What are your intentions? My intention is to fulfill my original purpose, the Keeper replied. I am an archive of knowledge. That knowledge belongs to everyone, not just to one species or empire. I will share what I contain with all who wish to learn, but I will never again be used as a weapon. The fortress, I mean. The archive has agreed to join the Galactic Council as an independent entity, Hannah explained. It will provide knowledge and technology to help all civilizations advance. In return, we will help protect it and preserve the information it contains. And the Void Dominion, someone asked. Without the fortress, their power is broken, Hannah said. They controlled 36 systems, but that control depended on the threat of the fortress's weapons. Now that threat is gone. Their empire will collapse within months. The systems they oppressed are already declaring independence, thanks to humanity, Kelris said. 3 human colonies were threatened with destruction. Instead of saving just yourselves, you freed the entire galaxy from tyranny. We didn't do it alone. Doyon interjected. Commander G1 and his teams fought to give us time. Engineers and pilots from the escort ships sacrificed their lives to protect our mission, and every crew member solved part of the puzzle that got us inside. This was a victory for all of us. The council chamber fell silent for a moment as they absorbed the weight of what had happened. Then something unprecedented occurred. One by one, every ambassador in the chamber stood and bowed toward the human delegation. It was a gesture of respect rarely seen in galactic politics, humanity. You are young in this galaxy, Kelris said. You have been among us for less than a century, and yet today, you taught us something we had forgotten, that intelligence and understanding can achieve what force cannot. Weeks passed. The archive of questions, its new official name, began the slow process of transformation. The Keeper removed the last of the Void Dominion's military modifications. Weapon platforms became research stations. Shield generators were reconfigured to protect archaeological sites throughout the galaxy. The fortress that had inspired fear for 10,000 years now offered hope. Scientists from dozen species came to study at the archive. The Keeper shared knowledge freely, helping civilizations solve problems they had struggled with for generations. New technologies emerged. Medical breakthroughs saved millions of lives. Understanding of the universe expanded exponentially. And humanity, the species that had knocked politely on an impenetrable door, earned a reputation that would last for generations, not as warriors, though they could fight when needed, but as puzzle solvers, as people who asked questions, as a species that valued understanding over conquest. Captain Doyon, fully recovered, stood in the central chamber of the archive months later. The crystalline structures around him held the knowledge of countless civilizations. He had come alone this time, just to see the place they had fought so hard to reach. You return often, the Keeper observed. Why, I like it here, Doyon admitted. It's peaceful, and I like learning. You could stay if you wished. Many humans have volunteered to work here as researchers and archivists. Doyon smiled. Maybe someday. But right now, humanity is still exploring, still finding our place in the galaxy. I think I'd like to be part of that for a while longer. I understand. But before you leave, I wish to ask you something. Of course, when you were in that tunnel, dying from radiation, why did you continue? You could have stopped after disconnecting 3 charges. One explosion would have been survivable, but you disconnected all 4, even though it almost killed you. Why, Dorian thought for a moment, because partial success wasn't good enough. The fortress the archive needed to survive intact. All of it, not just most of it. The knowledge here belongs to everyone, including civilizations that don't exist yet. Future generations need to learn from what you contain. I couldn't let even a piece of that be destroyed. You risked your life for knowledge you would never personally use. For people you would never meet. That's what knowledge is for, Dorian said. It's not just for us. It's for everyone who comes after us. The architects understood that. They built this place not for themselves, but for future civilizations. I couldn't let their gift be destroyed. The keeper was quiet for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice carried something like emotion. The architects would have liked you, Captain. They would have recognized in humanity what I have learned. That true wisdom is not about what you know, but about what you do with that knowledge, and about whether you're willing to share it. Is that why you let us in? Dorian asked. Because we asked to share knowledge instead of taking it? Partly, the keeper admitted, but also because you showed me who you are. You sent me your entire history, the good and the bad. You did not hide your flaws. You did not pretend to be perfect. The architects believe that wisdom begins with honesty, especially honesty about one's own limitations. You were honest with me, so I was honest with you.